can hear Stephon Diggs. He catches the ball and looks at people and senses, F you, F you, F you, F you, and F you. I was like, it was like taking that burden off their back of finally beating the New England Patriots.
Welcome into another episode of The Chop Shop. I'm Trey Wingo here alongside my good buddy, Mark Schlereth. Here in The Chop Shop, we're partnering once again with our friends at Mercedes-Benz Sprinter Vans. Hey, when was the last time you seriously considered your dreams? I mean, come on, you used to think about them all the time. What happened? I say it's time that you and your dreams got back together. I mean, think about it. You could live the van life in a totally customized Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. You could tour all 423 national parks, build a mountain cabin with your dad, or even start up your own business. Really, whatever you want to dream up. And it's a Mercedes-Benz van we're talking about here, kids. So expect innovative safety features like crosswind assist and blind spot assist. Expect amazing performance and reliability with an MBUX voice command system, a 5-star dealer network, and an available gas engine. It runs like, well, a dream. So what do you say? Head to the Mercedes-Benz dealership and get that Sprinter van. Tell them your dream sent you.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome into another edition of the Chop Shop. Glad you're here with us on what will be our final Chop Shop of the 2021 calendar year. But no, don't worry. We're not going anywhere until the season's over. We're just acknowledging the fact that the next time we see you, we'll be in a new year. Trey Wingo here with Mark Schlereth. And Mark, let me say on behalf of all those who have ever watched Trading Places, Merry New Year.
Yeah, Merry New Year to you. Jerky time. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you? Do you have a good Christmas? Have a good holiday?
Yeah, my wife, once again, she's undefeated when it comes to Christmas. There's nobody spent more money than her, so congratulations. I would like to say and I just sit back and enjoy it. I just watch the grandkids, go through, ripping through gifts, and it was fun. We had a great time. Well, everybody was home. Nice to be with our family, so it was great. And like I said, we once again won Christmas, so that was awesome.
It's funny you say that. We have some friends of ours up in Maui built a house, and the guy said, I gave my wife an unlimited budget for the house, and she exceeded it. So
yes.
I'm familiar. I'm familiar with what you're talking about. But we're not talking about...
That is a great line, by the way, and I will steal that and use it as my own.
Absolutely. I gave her an unlimited budget, and she exceeded it. So
right.
Goals attained. So we're not here to talk about Christmas or houses, although we could. We're here to talk about football. And you know what? My good friend Mike Golick Jr. once said, Mark, whenever you have the chance to stunt. So you know what you and I are about to do? We're going to stunt.
Okay.
Yes, because there's a team that everybody buried. And then they won 8 straight games, which led to their 6th straight AFC West championship. And in the process, with their starting quarterback under center, Patrick Mahomes, they have won 26 straight games in the months of November, December, and January. 26. Yeah. That would be your once again AFC West champion Kansas City Chiefs. We tried to tell you.
They're incredible, and they're playing with such confidence right now. And there's almost this feeling, and maybe I just have to tip my cap to Andy Reid, this feeling of let's just explore in the months of September and October some things that we would like to just try out and see if they work, see what we can build off of those things from a play design standpoint. Let's just go ahead and figure out how we can expand our playbook, how we can expand our repertoire during those months. And then let's tighten it back up in November and December and just kick the tar out of everybody. It is absolutely amazing when you watch this team play and the efficiency with which they play right now in the months of November, December, both offensively and defensively, just absolutely opening a can on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Amazing what they did.
Look, and they did it without one of their 3 best players, or at least one of their 4 best players in Travis Kelce, if you're going to put Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones in that conversation. They do it without their kicker, Harrison Butker, and do it with a new punter, all because of COVID. The thing that impresses me, though, most about Kansas City, and you and I knew the offense was going to be fine. You always say turnovers come in bunches, and then they go away. You can't count on that. The defense that Steve Spagnuolo has put together during this 8-game winning streak, they're giving up an average of 12.9 points per game. They've gone 5 straight games, 10 points or less at home at Arrowhead, which is more than likely where we'll see them in the postseason, barring some ridiculous turnaround. They have a tough one coming up this week. We'll talk about that with Kansas City in a minute. but I don't think there's been a better job in season of reversing something than what Steve Spagnuolo has done with that defense.
Yeah, and the crazy thing for me about that is the last couple of years it started that way. It's like, hey, they're the
Yep.
worst defense in football up until about week 8 or 9. And then all of a sudden, like you see a team go from, hey, they're the worst defense in football, and all of a sudden they've gone up to middle of the pack. But they go straight from the worst defense in football to, oh, by the way, now we're the best defense in football.
It's
And
insane.
it's and again, I don't have on that particular one, I don't have an answer for you. I could
Yeah.
spit out a bunch of theories, but that's all they are. Bottom line is, I can look at things like, hey, they've moved Chris Jones back inside a little bit more, so he's playing where he dominates the one-on-ones with the guards, and he does that. But this thing is all three levels of their football team.
Oh,
All
yeah.
three levels of their defense have played exceptionally well down the stretch, and that's what the difference is.
Yeah, listen, you're right. Chris Jones moving inside is great. Obviously, Melvin Ingram has been fantastic. But
Mhm.
to me, like for the first 8 weeks of the season, offensive coordinators are going, okay, where's Dan Sorensen? Where's Dan Sorensen? Where can we find Dan Sorensen?
Right.
All of a sudden, Dan Sorensen's making plays, right? That's the difference we're talking about. It's not just one superstar moving inside. It's everybody got better. And that, to me, is coaching. And that's why a big tip of the cap to Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defensive coordinator for getting the job done. Then there's the Miami Dolphins. Now, first of all, that game was a disaster on Monday night. The Saints had, 20-plus guys on the COVID list, and they had to start Ian Book. By the way, I think Notre Dame quarterbacks have lost 20-something straight games in the NFL, like 24 straight games between Ian Book, Deshaun Kaiser, Jimmy Clausen, and whoever else we want to throw on that list. But the Miami Dolphins are now the first team in NFL history to have a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game winning streak within the same season. And lo and behold, Mark, after a 1-7 start, right now they hold the 7th seed in the AFC playoffs with 2 games to go.
Yeah, and nobody wants to play them, right? I mean,
Nope.
you want to talk about, again, another job of coaching, understanding kind of what you are, what you aren't, and how you're going to adjust the way you coach your football team based upon the things that are perceived strengths. And I'll go all the way back to that Baltimore game on a Thursday night when they played the Ravens and just opened a can on the offense of the Ravens and basically created a blueprint that everybody else wants to follow. And it was, you look at their 58 or 59 plays that they ran defensively. I think it was 42 plays or 45 plays where they played what we call zero coverage, meaning straight man to man. We're going to bring more people than you have to block. Can you complete a pass? Can you beat somebody on one-on-one? Because that's what you're getting. And ever since that time, their ability to line up, threaten the A-gaps with linebackers, bring pressure off the edge, they're just coming from somewhere. And like we used to say this all the time when I was playing, you live by the blitz, you die by the blitz, right? And if you're good from a blitz pickup standpoint and you've got receivers that can instantly win at the, on the release, and that's really what it comes down to. Can you win the release? If you win the release, then you can stack a wide receiver and you can be over the top of him, right? Like those things have to go hand in hand if you can pick it up. Well, the bottom line is they're so good at bringing pressure and bringing it from showing you one thing. It's like the Wizard of Oz, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. They're showing you one thing. They're bringing it from the other side. They're doing a great job of that. And nobody's been able to solve the conundrum that is the Miami Dolphins defense and their blitz pressure schemes. And I tell you, somebody will do it. Somebody will figure it out. And Miami will get beat 42 to 15 or something. But right now, nobody seems to be able to do it, and they're gonna ride and die with that.
Well, listen, I think the Miami Dolphins are the perfect litmus test for the insane 2021 season, because one thing looks like it's going to happen one way or the other, and they'll make history one way or the other. They started 1-7. No team has ever made the playoffs in NFL history after starting 1-7. But with their win Monday night over the Saints, they now have a 7-game winning streak in the months of November and December. Since the AFL-NFL merger of 1970, every team that has had a 7-game winning streak in the month of November and December has made the postseason. So whether they make the postseason or whether they don't make the postseason, either way, the Dolphins are going to set some sort of mark that we've never seen before in the NFL. And I think that sums up the insanity of what we've been dealing with over the last few weeks of the 2021 season. Then there's the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I don't know if there's a better way to break out a slump for the offense than to do what Dak Prescott did Sunday night against the Washington football team. He became the first quarterback in NFL history to throw touchdown passes to a wide receiver, a tight end, a running back, and an offensive lineman in the same game in the 42-point blowout win over Washington, 56-14. This, to me, was a statement game for the Cowboys, who are still very much in line, Mark, to have home field advantage through the NFC because they are a different animal at home.
Oh, there is no question about it. And you talk about breaking out of the slump. The crazy thing about that is, Dak Prescott, and I talked to him last week about this quote unquote slump. He was having none of it, taking 100% responsibility for where he is. And I talked to him about pulling that calf and missing, during the bye week, missing that time. And then the next week, week 8, missing that time. Absolutely has nothing to do with anything. I'm fine 100%, And you're like, hey, man, everybody at this point is hurt. Everybody's playing with it. I am not injured. I've never felt better. I'm like, this is Dak. And I appreciate that about Dak. Whether you're lying to me or lying to yourself, I don't care. But he is totally 100% taking responsibility for it. And the cool thing about team, and it's the complementary nature of football, and this is where Dallas really intrigues me. During that offensive slump, where they weren't running the ball, where there's outstanding left tackle Terrence Smith missed now 4 games. Yeah, he's missed 4 games. Maybe I don't know if he missed last week or not.
He did. He missed last week.
Yeah, so now it's 5 games during this run where Amari Cooper's missed a couple of games. Gallup had missed games in time early. CeeDee Lamb had missed some time. They had some injuries. Tony Pollard had missed time. So, there was a lack of continuity there. During that whole time where they've had that lack of continuity, guess who showed up? The freaking defense. They have played lights out defense to win those games and to give themselves a chance to be here with the number 1 seed in line. That is complementary football. That's still, I think, to me, the thing that intrigues me most about the Dallas Cowboys is what they've been able to do, why they've tried to get through some of the issues they've had on the offensive side of the ball, and that breakout against a damn good Washington defense. Hey man, don't just throw that by the wayside that they were able to hang 50 whatever points they hung on Washington. Washington's defense is legitimate. And that's a big-time victory for the Dallas Cowboys.
It absolutely is. And a lot of the same things we just said about the Kansas City defense, we can say about the Cowboys defense. They have playmakers at every level. Obviously, Trayvon Diggs is a ball hawk. He tied Everson Wall's franchise record with 11 interceptions in that game. Then you have Leighton Vander Esch, Micah Parsons, who can play linebacker or rush, so they're good on that level. And then, my God, when you have Tank Lawrence and Randy Gregory back, and then you can throw Micah Parsons into the mix, Dan Quinn may be the off-season coach of the year, or coordinator of the year, if Steve Spagnuolo is the in-season coordinator of the year for the way he's got that defense playing.
Yeah, he's got him playing great football. And then, the things that he has done, because you think about Dan Quinn, you think about the Seattle Seahawks, you think about that match cover 3, and, talking to him, and I spent a lot of time on the phone. He's a friend. He's a guy that I can lean on when I'm like, great guy. And I'm just like, hey, dude, describe this or explain this to me, what you're doing. And he's like, I've really changed. Like, I'm matching all my outside routes in the cover, but like I'm more man-to-man than I've ever been, but I'm zone man-to-man on the inside. Like, it's all combination coverage. And like what he's done, the way he's adjusted that, the way he's lining up 5 defensive linemen, lining up Vander Esch as a D lineman, lining up Micah Parsons as almost a D lineman on the outside. They are giving you so many looks, and you're right. They're finding ways to free up Gregory. They're finding ways to free up Lawrence. They're an amazing tough out. And you talk about ball skills, and this was interesting. You talked about Diggs, and I'm just talking defense in general. And I'm talking to Mike McCarthy. He goes, man, I would much rather take a 4-4-5 guy or a 4-5-5 guy and play corner that's got exceptional ball skills than a 4-3-8 guy that has no ball skills. And he goes, we have in our back end, we have guys that have tremendous ball skills. And like you see it with Diggs. He runs routes like he matches and runs the route the receiver is supposed to run. And then he's got the ability, once he puts his hands on it, he's catching it. They're an incredible defense right now.
They absolutely are. And, of course, Trayvon Diggs started out as a wide receiver. That's where those ball skills come from. So Cowboys look to be in really, really good shape, potentially to have the number 1 overall seed. And, again, they score more points at home than any team in football. So that's why, them being at home would be a huge boon for them if they can get that way through the entire playoffs. All right, when we take a break and when we come back, we'll talk about a win that was needed not only for the standings but also for a team's psyche. That's next on the Chop Shop. Stay with us.
No two dreams are the same, but there is one van equipped to handle them all. For over 120 years, Mercedes-Benz vans have been built, upfitted, and ready to go because we believe dreams should never stay that way. Because those who find their passion drive their passion. So you can stop following your dreams and start driving them.
Hey, welcome into our new weekly segment, Treys Trends, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Now, Caesars Sportsbook is the greatest sports betting app of all time, people. Why? Patience. I'm about to tell you, because Caesars makes everyone feel like an emperor. When you place your bets, win or lose, you earn more with Caesar Rewards. Dining, getaways, stays, so many perks. Now, let me explain what that means. You see, in our world, Caesar isn't the only emperor. You see, if you check the spelling, there is no apostrophe in Caesars. Why is that? It's because everyone who downloads the app is treated like an emperor. We are all Caesars. Caesars Sportsbook is the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards, which means win or lose, you'll earn reward credits with every single wager. Redeem those credits for sports tickets, dining, getaways, and more. Presented for the people by Caesars Sportsbook. Here's a peek of what you can learn when you watch Treys Trends on Caesars Sportsbook's social media and YouTube channels. Let's talk about the game of the week, the Chiefs and the Bengals. These are the only 2 teams in the NFL right now with a 4,000-yard passer and a pair of 1,000-yard receivers. But let's take it one step further. This is going to be only the second game in NFL history where you have 2 teams with each having a 4,000-yard passer and 2,000-yard receivers. It was back in Week 17 of 2014, the last time it happened, when the Packers, with quarterback Aaron Rodgers and wide receivers Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb, took on the Detroit Lions with Matthew Stafford at quarterback and Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate as the 1,000-yard receivers and beat them 30-20. Mahomes ranks 5th in the NFL in passing yards with just over 4,300, and he has his pair of receivers in tight end Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, both over 1,000 yards. Kelce, by the way, was out Sunday because of COVID-19. They do expect him back. As for Burrow, his 1,000-yard receivers are rookie Jamar Chase, who's been incredible, and T. Higgins. And then, of course, Burrow has thrown all kinds of yards himself. He ranks 6th in the NFL at 4,165. The Chiefs have won 8 straight games, while the Bengals have won 4 of their last 6. The Bengals have won their last 5 home games against the Chiefs, by the way. Kansas City's last win in Cincinnati came back in 1984 when Todd Blackledge was making his 2nd career start. Find more of Treys Trends at Caesar Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, with new episodes dropping every Friday. 21 or older, 18 or older in D.C., must be located in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Maryland, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Washington, D.C. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Ohio, and Utah, and other states where it's prohibited. Know when to stop before you start. Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. Or in West Virginia, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Colorado, D.C., and Nevada, call 1-800-522-4700. Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Iowa, call 1-800-BETS-OFF. Louisiana, call 1-877-770-STOP. Michigan, call 1-800-270-7117. Tennessee, call or text TN Redline at 1-800-889-9789. Virginia, call 1-888-532-3500. Copyright 2021, Caesars Entertainment. Coming soon to New York. Gambling problem? Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. All right, back with you on the Chop Shop. Trey Wingo and Mark Schlereth, still in the holiday spirit as I'm sporting my plaid holiday jacket. Stake, there was a huge win for the Buffalo Bills in terms of their playoff positioning and their ability to control their own destiny, if you believe destiny is something that be controlled in the AFC East. But I would argue, as big as it was in the standings, it was one they needed for their freaking brains, their freaking heads, their psyche. They had just gotten smoked at home a couple of weeks ago by New England in that horrible weather game where they just got punished against the run. Then they go and lose on the road. They had a little bounce back game against the Panthers. They needed, for their own mental health, to beat the New England Patriots, and they went about it and did it on the road in Foxborough in a very convincing way, thanks to a really elaborate sort of ad lib performance by Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think it's huge. Josh Allen probably had his signature game, and he's had a lot of really good games, but there's something special when you play a team that has, had dominance over you over a couple of decades.
Yep.
Obviously Bill Belichick, and there's a little bit of a history there. Bill Belichick and Sean McDermott. Remember after that Buffalo game where it was the bad weather game where the Patriots won that, 14-11 or whatever it was, where, he comes out and basically says, hey, Bill Belichick is not all that, he's not all that in a bag of chips. Like what, and myself and a lot of people looked at it like, dude,
projecting.
You really want to tempt fate? But I'll give him a lot of credit because they came out, they played well. You talked about Josh Allen, his improv skills, fourth down, scrambling around, making plays. Like he did that. And I just thought that was an exceptional win for them. And there's something about a win like that. Like when I played in Denver, it was always about, can you go to Kansas City and win a game against Marty Schottenheimer's Kansas City Chiefs? Because you knew that was going to be a bloodbath. You knew how physical they were. You knew how well they played at home. You knew what a solid football team that was. And you can go into New England and win a game in December against the Patriots. And everything is on the line for you as a franchise. That's a huge psyche win for the Buffalo Bills.
And by the way, they almost blew it. Like they were dominant in that game. Like I was looking at the first half stats. They were killing them. Like 20-7 was the least amount of points they could be up in that game because they went for it on fourth down so many times and in the red zone a couple of times and didn't get any points. And then the Patriots made it close. And then the Bills said, no, not this time, which is what I liked. They found a way to finish. And I don't know if you caught this, but on the touchdown pass to Stephon Diggs that I think pretty much ended the game, somebody, I think it was the NFL memes account on Instagram, they had the audio, and you could hear Stephon Diggs. He catches the ball and looks at people and says, F you, F you, F you, F you, and F you. And I was like, it was like taking that burden off their back of finally beating the New England Patriots. It was pretty funny. Even though they swept them a year ago, I understand, but it was pretty hilarious. Cooper Kupp may be the first to get to 150, but what I've really noticed for the Rams over the last few weeks is that Odell Beckham has become a red zone threat for them. And that is so important, especially with the loss of Robert Woods. Stafford and Beckham did not get on rhythm early, but over the last 3 or 4 games, they've been in sync, and that's going to make that Rams team very, very difficult in the NFC.
And no question about it. OBJ still, that touchdown he scored against Minnesota, the top of his route, man, he shook like he was going inside. And the DB just says, like, I think it was Cameron Danzler, was like just right here. And he's outside. I mean, it's just, and God bless him. Like I understand that feeling of, biting on the fish hook, but that was the route. That was, let's celebrate somebody who is exceptional at doing what they do because it's impossible to cover that. And you're 100% right. What impresses me more than anything, Eric Yarber was my teammate at the University of Idaho who coaches wide receivers for the Rams. And I went to prepare to do that game, and I put on the film, and I was so pleasantly surprised at watching Odell Beckham Jr. do the dirty work.
Yep.
And you don't think about a guy that has historically been portrayed as a diva, probably rightfully so, but I'm watching him throw blocks on bubble screens. I mean, just get after people, play physical, understanding that you're number 2, you're a complimentary route runner, but running that route like you're number 1 to create the division and the spacing within that context or within that play design. Like those are the things that you see away from the film or away from the ball when he doesn't have the ball in his hands that he is doing, and he's doing them at an exceptional level. And that takes a level of a unselfishness that I don't know that he's had in the past. And that comes with coming into an organization where they're like, hey, man, you got a clean slate here, but this is how we do things. And so I'm talking to Eric Yarber before the game, and he goes, it's hard not to play hard for us when you watch the way Cooper Kupp blocks people, you watch the way Van Jefferson gets in there and mixes it up, you watch the way the rest of our receivers fight for each other. Like, it's very apparent early that, I got to pick my game up. And that's exactly what Odell Beckham Jr. has done. And, tip of the cap to him, too, because it takes a certain amount of humility to be able to do that. And he has done it. He has done it.
Well, they are clicking right now on all cylinders, and we'll see what happens going forward with them the last 2 weeks. We talked about this when we talked about the Chiefs, Mark, but I don't think you can say enough about the progression of Joe Burrow and the things that he's done in Cincinnati, because it was just at this time a year ago against Washington where he got his knee completely blown out. And basically almost a year to the day after, what happens? He goes out there and throws for the fourth most yards in a history of an NFL football game, 525, and 4 touchdown passes as they take apart the Baltimore Ravens team. I get it. That was decimated by COVID and injuries and all kinds of stuff. But, you still got to go out there and perform. And they tap danced on him. And I also love what Joe said after the game, because they were throwing late when they had the big lead. And people were like, well, did you think about easing off? He goes, no, they're getting paid. We're getting paid. And they did it to us last year. I have zero sympathy for them. I was like, damn, I love Joe Burrow. And I think Joe Burrow, in that draft where it was, it's supposed to be tank for Tua, and then Herbert was the surprise, and Joe went number 1 after that amazing season at LSU. Joe Burrow's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL for a long time. And that game on Sunday might have been his real coming out party.
Yeah, he really has been incredible. And he is just, everybody just thinks that you draft one in the first round and you're going to get one, right? And right now you start to look around the league and are there question marks about Daniel Jones? Yep. Are there question marks about Baker Mayfield? Yep. Sam Darnold? Yep. The whole 9 yards.
Josh Rosen, who?
Yeah, right. And so you just don't know. But you put the skill set aside, which is probably the last thing that you really need to look at. It's the intangible stuff. It's the instincts aspect of it. It's your ability just to understand kind of what they're trying to do to you and how you're going to attack that. And Joe Burrow has been nothing short of amazing, especially like you said, coming off that devastating knee injury, Trey, where, I've been there. Man, there are times where you really question whether you can play again, or you play with some fear or some apprehension, or, you're a little bit skittish in the pocket, whatever. He shows none of that. I mean, it's almost though, you and I have talked about this before, the art of not giving an F.
Yeah.
Like, he seems to have that in spades back there. Nothing seems to rattle that guy. And I tell you what, I'm 100% with you. Of all the young quarterbacks, and there's some good ones, we've mentioned some bad ones, but there's some really good ones in this league. And I think Herbert's going to be really good. I think there's a lot that are going to be really good. Joe Burrow may be the best of all that group, all that young group.
Yeah. Clearly, there's something he likes in the Ravens game, because they beat him by 24 earlier this season up in Baltimore. So there's something about the offense that the Bengals present. And sometimes matchups are just bad matchups, right? And clearly there's something about the Bengals offense that doesn't match up well with the Ravens defense as it's presently constructed. But that game, Kansas City and Cincinnati, if Kansas City drops that game, Tennessee still has a chance to sneak into the number 1 seed, although I'm not sure how potent they're going to be going forward. So that game is literally almost everything in the AFC this coming Sunday in Cincinnati.
It certainly is. And, that one is, you talk about offensive fireworks. The difference to me is Kansas City's playing great defense right now. So that'll be a great matchup. But the potential, which means it'll be, a 13-17 game. The potential
12-10.
Yeah. The potential for one of them 51-49 games is there. You remember that game we had a couple of years ago between Kansas City and
54-51.
And the Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah, that potential is there, which, like you said, 12-10. 12-10,
Yeah.
Kansas City.
Well, if that's the case, we'll talk about it next week in the new year in 2022. Brother, it has been great getting back to work with you in 2021, and we look forward to finishing up the season and doing this for a lot more years. My best to you and the family, and we'll talk to you next year. Okay?
Yeah, Happy New Year, my friend. Love you.
Thanks again to our friends over at Caesars Sportsbook. Remember to visit Caesars.com to see if sports betting is available where you live.